At this point, we'd like to call back on stage our call Chief Equity Strategist to talk about using fundamental analysis to generate alpha. Once again, let's welcome Ms. April Lynn Tan.
Okay, so now I'd like to talk about how fundamental analysis can generate alpha. Hindi lang trading to alpha, pati fundamental analysis. Pwede rin kayong maka-alpha, no? So anyway, just like to start out with a little 101 on fundamental analysis. So anybody you talk to, when you ask them, how do I make money in stocks? They will tell you, look for a company that will deliver strong earnings growth, that are trading at cheap valuations. Ganun lang kasimple. Madali lang ba talaga? Kasi if you ask me, no, it's looking for a company that's delivering high earnings growth that is trading at a cheap valuation. It's like looking for a unicorn. You know, perfect. Problema, sa totoong buhay, hindi siya ganun kadali. This is because markets are very efficient. And most of the time, you will see everything is priced in. If a company is delivering strong earnings growth, it will most likely be trading at an expensive valuation. Yung mga mura is yung may mga problema. Diba? Well, that said, there are rare times or opportunities when rapid earnings growth stocks will be trading at cheap valuations. And slow earnings growth companies will be trading at expensive valuations, but very rarely. Well, anyway, so here's like a little what do you call it, guide as to how fundamental analysis can help you actually generate that alpha. First is allowing you to identify the themes early. So you want to buy a company that is just about to enter that green portion, no? You want to spot that early using fundamental analysis, no? Those are the themes. And differentiating between value plays from value traps. So pag mura ang isang stock, bibilin mo ba yan or iiwasan mo? Kasi yun eh, when valuations are cheap, are they green or are they orange? Diba? And reduce your risk when you are trading high-flying stocks. So we know high-flying stocks, no? We always have this dilemma. Parang, okay, you got it right, but is it time to sell it? Or should we still hold it for more returns? Or is it something na we should totally avoid? So anyway, some fundamental analysis can help. And I'll give you some examples and some guides to help you use fundamental analysis. Okay, how do you identify themes early? First, let's talk about themes. What are themes? Themes are new developments or realities. Parang, in other words, what has changed, no? And we generate alpha by identifying these themes early and allowing us to spot the winners and losers. So we buy the winners and sell the losers. Okay, how do we identify these themes? So for us, at COL Financial, we actually have a team of research analysts. I think we are 8 in all. We read the news reports. We stay abreast of news reports. And, nowadays, it's not enough to be aware of what's happening domestically. Pati global developments, kailangan updated tayo, no? Aside from that, every quarter, we actually go through the earnings results. And there are actually a lot of, we listen to what corporates have to say. We look at their earnings reports. Kasi minsan pag binabasa lang natin yung mga disclosures or news reports, it's not enough eh. I mean, have you ever wondered why sometimes a company reports lower earnings but the share price goes up? Diba? Nangyayari yan eh. And for us being analysts, it's our job actually to look at the details because they may say something like, oh, earnings are down, but our guidance has increased because we noticed that sales are picking up for a new product, etc., etc. So that's our job. Kasi during the earnings results briefing, the company usually will provide more color as to why earnings are down. Baka naman hindi siya worrisome, but the more important factors are actually very positive, no? And other factors that help us generate alpha or help us identify themes would be mga anecdotal evidences. When we talk to people, we kind of notice stuff. And of course, experience. It really helps. Research is something where experience is very important because if you have gone through something and have seen something work, most likely when something similar happens, you will be able to say, hey, parang I feel like this is a repeat of something that I saw several years ago. For example, think about URC. URC in the past was a super unloved stock. During the global financial crisis, it was actually one of the laggards because people were always saying it had a lazy balance sheet. But then what happened? They had two blockbuster products, C2, and then they had white coffee, which allowed the share price to go up significantly. So using that experience, this time around, for example, we are recommending CNPF because CNPF has a new blockbuster product, which is Birch Tree. And right now, the share price hasn't been reflecting that new reality yet. So that's the reason why we are excited and we are recommending that stock. So that's where experience actually comes into play and is very important because we see some things in the past repeating themselves, no? Okay, so these are just examples of themes that we have identified. Okay, one theme that we are seeing right now is a theme of falling interest rates. Okay, first of all, we have falling inflation, and the BSP is cutting interest rates, and as I've said, it has cut the triple Rs by 200 basis points, and it said that it will cut it by another 100 basis points. And globally, you're seeing global central banks cutting interest rates. So mukhang pababa ang interest rates. So with that, who will be the beneficiaries? Of course, it will be the property companies. Yes, I know property stocks are going down, but that doesn't change the fact that if interest rates go down, property prices go up, property sales pick up. So we are quite positive about them. We're not changing our positive view. So mamaya pwede tayo mag-usap about all these POGOs and all those concerns. But I think Boss Edward already talked about how the POGO issue is a short-term concern. Our feeling is, our president already said that we're not gonna tell the POGOs to leave. So for us, it's a short-term concern which is unfounded. And another possible theme going forward will be the search for high dividend yielding stocks. So the list we have here is not an all-encompassing stocks, but for example, with time deposit rates again back to 3% and below, people might actually look for companies that can deliver higher yields. And these are just some companies that do provide high dividend yields. Okay, China Bank, Cebu Pacific, Aboitiz Power, Philinvestland, and PLDT. Okay, another theme that is just fresh would be tight nickel supply. And because of that, nickel prices have gone up substantially. So what has happened is Indonesia announced that they will be banning the exports of raw nickel effective January 2020. So initially, they said they would ban the export of raw nickel by 2022, no? So this is 2 years ahead of schedule, which is why nickel prices have gone up, benefiting local companies such as Nickel Asia. Okay, and the reason why this is important is because Indonesia accounts for 10% of the global supply. So may impact talaga if they will not put that supply into the market. Okay, just some caveats. When you are playing themes, monitor the important indicators for possible reversals. Okay, so we talked about nickel prices and how it favorably affects nickel stocks such as Nickel Asia. So you can see here on the left-hand side the price of nickel, the commodity. And you see how Nickel Asia's share price is actually responding favorably to it. So may correlation yung galaw nila. So if you are actually an investor in Nickel Asia, you have to be monitoring nickel prices because if nickel prices go down, the price of Nickel Asia will also go down. Okay, and for Cebu Pacific, notice how it is very sensitive to oil prices and the peso. So you can see how last year the price of Cebu Pacific from close to 100 pesos fell to around mga 60 plus, no? And it was because last year, you can see how oil prices were actually going up and the peso was depreciating. This time around, we're seeing the reverse. We're seeing oil prices go down and the peso strengthening, which is why share price of Cebu is picking up. Assuming though that all of a sudden, oil prices reverse again, start going up, and the peso again starts to depreciate, most likely the share price of Cebu will also be going down. So those are the important indicators for Cebu Pacific. So when you're investing in themes, try to remember why you bought a stock. And if those factors reverse, you have to be quick also to take profits or lock in gains. Okay, and finally, the earnings results will have to validate your themes. Okay, so just want to give you an example again. During the start of the year, we were saying, and not only us, a lot of fund managers and analysts were saying consumer stocks should benefit from the falling inflation environment. Of course, because with lower inflation, you will see more people buying consumer products. And since raw material costs are going down, these companies will earn higher margins. But then what happened? When the actual earnings results came out nung May, earnings of companies were actually disappointing because consumers during the first quarter still didn't start buying products. There was still a spillover effect of high inflation. In other words, ang nangyari, nung fourth quarter of 2018, because of the Christmas feeling, people still had to spend and continued to spend even if prices were high. Pero nung pagdating ng January, nagtipid lahat ng tao. So, pangit yung naging earnings. And you can see here in the chart that we provided how the share prices of consumer companies actually disappointed. Bumaba sila kasi yung inaasahan ng tao hindi nag-materialize in terms of earnings. So, that's another thing that we have to pay attention to. The earnings results have to validate our positive views or themes. Okay? Okay, and next way that research or fundamental analysis can add value or generate alpha for you is allow you to differentiate value plays from value traps. Ayan. So what is value investing? Value investing is an investment strategy that involves picking stocks that appear to be trading below their fair value. Okay? 'Di ba? Yun naman minsan 'di ba parang sige maghanap tayo ng murang stock, 'di ba? That's how we generate better returns. The problem is cheap stocks can stay cheap for a very long time and become value traps. I'm sure you guys are very much aware of this, no? This is actually one of the challenges faced by investors. Okay? So maybe, when you try to pick stocks, no? Actually, yung mga investors, mahilig yan pag bumababa yung stock, binibili. Tapos nagtatanong, okay na ba yan? Kasi mura na, di ba? But when stocks are falling, you should ask yourself this question: why is the stock being sold off? And try to determine whether the reason for the sell-off is warranted or unwarranted. Okay? If it's unwarranted, feeling nyo, wala lang yan. Like for us, for example, MSCI rebalancing, nabawasan yung weighting sa MSCI index. Therefore, it's unwarranted. And we feel like if the stock's being sold down because of that, it's a value play or a value opportunity. But if the stock is being sold down because there is a long-term problem, then you should actually, wait first and, try to understand the situation better. So I'll give you some examples here. Okay? So, when you evaluate the value plays, kunyari may conviction kayo na hindi, mali yan. The reason why a stock is being sold down is parang I guess yung unwarranted and medyo overkill yung sell-off. You also have to know that the catalyst that will prove that you are correct should happen in the short term. You have to be proven right away. Okay, this could be next quarter's earnings results or some economic indicators that will prove you are correct. Okay, so yan ang importante when you are validating your value plays. Okay, so one of the stocks that we recommended before when it was sold down was Security Bank. This stock was sold down because there were concerns of higher funding cost. Because, Security Bank, being a small bank, had less branches compared to your BDOs and BPIs. Therefore, yung mga deposit rates niya mas mataas at mas mahal. Okay? And during the start of the year, of course, we had an inverted yield curve. So what do you mean by an inverted yield curve? This just means that the interest rates on short-term funding is higher than long-term funding, such as 10 years, 5 years. So that was what was happening. And in general, when the yield curve is inverted, banks don't earn anything kasi mas lugi pa siya magpautang. Mas mahal pa yung cost niya than yung lending niya. Diba? So wala siyang spread. So banks in general were sold off, but Security Bank was one of those that was sold off significantly because of concerns that it was such a small bank and its funding costs were expensive. But then, after we talked to the bank and we tried to understand the situation, the impact of the yield curve inversion is not in the same magnitude as people were anticipating. And people were actually not taking into consideration that banks were making huge trading gains. So we continued to recommend the stock. And what happened? During second quarter earnings results, the bank reported higher margins, contrary to people's expectations. And the BSP implemented a triple R cut. So the reserve requirement ratio cut actually changed the inversion of the yield curve. So in the Philippines, iba yung inversion ng yield curve natin. It's not the same as the US. Sa US, nag-i-invert siya kasi people are worried about a recession. In the Philippines, the reason why we are having an inverted yield curve is bank deposits are very tight. Yung bangko wala nang mapautang. Kaya nagtataas na yung mga time deposit rates. Pero nung kinat ni BSP, yung triple R, lumuwag yung liquidity ng banks. Hindi na naging inverted yung yield curve. So anyway, that's the reason why the share price of Security Bank reversed. Okay? And then, another example would be property companies. So recently, the property companies were sold off because of POGO concerns that they would exit the Philippines. However, we feel like these concerns are unwarranted because Duterte already said that he wants POGOs to stay. We need POGOs. And Going forward, I think what will prove these concerns to be unfounded is if companies continue to deliver strong earnings growth in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. This will also come to pass. Actually, if you think about it, if we go back to 2018, meron na ring POGO scare noong 2018 that POGOs would leave. But then again, POGOs continued to increase. Nawala na naman yung concerns ng mga tao. Okay, just want to show you how the share prices of property companies have gone down for mid-July to September period where the scare came out. So property index is down 9%, PSEI down 5%. Okay. The theme that we like about properties is falling interest rates. And if you look at interest rates, they're actually down for the same period. So we feel like the sell-off of property stocks is actually an opportunity for people to make money, fundamentally. Okay, so earlier on, we were talking about these value traps, no? Yung mga binibiling mura, tapos they stay cheap for a long time. So why don't we just tell you to avoid it altogether? Okay? This is because value traps can eventually become value plays. Okay? And especially no, when you buy them during bear markets, these value traps actually provide the highest returns or the greatest opportunities, no, because they're really so cheap when they rebound. Okay? So first of all, value traps turn into value plays. You have to make sure that finally the catalyst that will allow them to turn around should now be in sight. Nandyan na sila. Kasi baka ngayon wala pa, ayaw pang umakyat. Pero pag biglang nagka-catalyst, the turnaround na yan. Okay, just give you an example. MPI is a stock that we recently included in our Calling the Shot stock pick list. And the reason why we added it is because we feel like it's an example of a value trap that is now a value play. Okay? So valuations are really very cheap. Okay, it's trading at a steep discount to its net asset value. And in fact, investors who own MPI or are buying MPI now are only paying for the value of its shares in Meralco. And of course, we know MPI also owns shares in toll roads such as SLEX and the water business. Parang libre na lang yun. Halos wala ka nang binayaran. Parang I think 12 billion for all of that and even the hospitals. So for us, we feel like the catalyst for why this stock will turn around is already in sight because one of the issues is regulatory. But you know, they were able to get rate hikes for their toll business. Secondly, funding is an issue, but they will do an IPO for the hospital business. And it's not really the IPO that needs to succeed. They already have buyers for the shares. They're only doing the IPO so that they can save a little bit on taxes. So we feel like nandyan na yung catalyst for MPI shares to go up. I think our target price is around 8 pesos for this stock, no? Okay, another favorite of people, ang Jollibee ba? Value play ba yan? Well, unfortunately, maybe it's still too early at this stage. Okay, it was sold off because of the smash burger losses and the acquisition of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, which is still losing money. So first question, is it cheap enough already? Unfortunately, at this point, it's still trading at 34 times 2020 PE, which is not a cheap valuation if you think about it. Consumer companies would trade more at the 20 to 25 times level. It's still 34 times next year. And then, is the catalyst in sight for the turnaround of those two businesses that dragged it? Unfortunately, not yet because Smash Burger, one of its problems is the poor location of the stores, and Jollibee said around 30 to 40% of those stores are still needing to be relocated. And CBTL is still, will need mga 18 months to turn around. So still too early at this point, not yet. It's not yet cheap enough and the turnaround will probably take mga 2 more years. So wag muna. Okay, so just some reminders on buying value traps, or okay, I'll just first say that when you buy value traps, you have to make sure to buy them really cheap and to buy them slowly. Huwag kayong magmamadali, dahan-dahan lang, and just to buy enough. In other words, be willing to get ipet when you buy these stocks. No? And when you pick your value stocks, don't indiscriminately buy all value stocks. Focus on mature growth companies. Yung medyo, alam nyo, mag-grow yan, medyo blue chips, no? As Warren Buffett has said, I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 5 years. So dapat ganun ang feeling nyo, parang sige, kahit hawakan ko to for 5 years, kaya ko. No? So that's buy it cheap, buy it slowly, and manage your size such that you can hold it for the next 5 years. No? Okay. Next is when trading high-flying stocks. Ayan, ito yung pinaka-exciting in my opinion. Siguro isip nyo, how can research even help us, when we are buying these high-flying stocks? But then I know the feeling when you buy these speculative, exciting issues. You're always in a dilemma, whether you should buy, sell, or hold at this point in time. So anyway, we provided a checklist of questions you could ask when you are buying these stocks. Why is the stock going up? Who are the major shareholders? Which industry does the company belong to? How much is the company projected to earn and when? And how much is the company's market capitalization or valuation? And does this even make sense? I know when you buy these high-flying stocks, the answers to these questions are not always available. But, do your best. And that would help you gauge whether you can continue or should continue to buy these stocks, or should you sell it already. Okay, so yan, ito. A high-flying stock that a lot of people are wondering, if I still have this stock, should I sell it already or keep it? Okay, why is the stock up? Who are the major shareholders? Well, when Kepwealth did its IPO, it's a small IPO. At the IPO price, market capitalization is only 1 billion pesos. And then 30% float. Major shareholder is the Jimenez family, and they also own Sogo chain of hotels. So there is speculation that that hotel chain would be injected, okay? But ayun nga, I mean, looking at what Kepwealth is all about, it's in the office leasing industry, and it owns 33 units in one building only, not even a whole building, okay? And it only earned 33 million in 2018. So that said, if we do our math and analyze the valuations, this stock is trading at 60 times PE, which is very expensive relative to a lot of much bigger companies that pay dividends and have bigger recurring income that are more diversified. So that said, it will be difficult to sustain the share price. And maybe if you made money from the IPO, it's a good opportunity to lock in and sell the stock, no? Okay, and then another stock that is going up is Ayala Land Logistics Holding Corporation. Okay, well, I've included a chart that starts from 2015 because a lot of things have been going on with this company. Okay, so a brief background, this stock used to be Poppy, Philippine Orion Properties Inc., if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it was bought initially by Ayala Land in 2015. They bought more shares in 2017, so you can see how the share price has been going up in that respect. And then Ayala Land injected the logistics hub or their logistics business there in 2018 and 2019 they injected more. So you see the share price has been going up as well with those developments. So which industry does it belong to? It belongs to the industrial properties industry, and it has some rental income actually. Very exciting. From 164,000 square meters for lease, they're adding another 84,000 square meters for lease. And it has 200 hectares of properties that it can sell. It's going to be a mix of industrial properties for sale and properties for lease, and they have Tutuban Mall, and they're looking for more industrial properties in Visayas. So what is its market cap? What is its valuation? Currently, Ayala Land Logistics is trading at a discount to its net asset value of 5 pesos 10 per share. And market capitalization is around 22 billion. So I mean, if you look at this, I mean, looks promising because they have a lot of properties for sale. Industrial properties look like they're going up in price. Even the leasing business could generate more income going forward. So, tapos valuation, well, still discount naman to net asset value. So at least this one, there's a chance. If you want to buy it, it could go up. Okay. And then next, this one is again for high-flying stocks. If you don't have much data, ambiguity to reality, 'di ba? Maraming kwento. Okay, if maraming ambiguity, stocks usually go up. If it's all speculation, because we don't know what to think, 'di ba? Basta story lang, okay. Oh, positive yan. Sige, tataas yung share price. The problem is when it becomes reality and when analysts like me are able to compute a fair value and a net income, the share price will go down because the earnings will now finally have to validate the fair or the market capitalization of a stock. Okay, usually it will follow, stocks will follow this path. When when discovery or speculation, pataas yan. And then, when it's time to make the investments, the hard work begins, in other words, the share price will go down. And then, it will only recover again when investments start paying off. Similar to what happens in a mining company. When they find the discovery, the share price will go up, and then when they have to do the investments, it will go down first. And then when it's going to earn again, that's the time when the price will go up on a more sustainable fashion. So companies usually follow a similar path. So Bloomberry Resorts is in a more advanced stage. We feel like it's in the earnings phase already, but it went to a speculative phase. It had an IPO at 750 per share, and because people were talking up, the returns of the casinos, how much they could earn, the share price of Bloomberry went up. And you can see in the orange box there, it opened in March of 2013. But after that, of course, it went through growing pains. Okay? Earnings were not as good as analysts or initially hyped about because there was a crackdown on China, City of Dreams opened, and they suffered from huge bad debts because there were VIP players that came in that didn't pay. So of course, the share price went down significantly. Pag tinitingnan natin sa chart na yan, parang wala lang, no? Pero can you imagine from a high of 16 pesos, this stock went to 3 pesos. So that's an 80% drawdown for investors, which is a lot. Okay? But then again, finally, after they were able to work through these growing pains, earnings actually started to recover and share prices once again went up. Okay? So yan, advanced stage na si Bloomberry. So it's now in the sustainable growth phase because the earnings are finally coming in. Okay. So yan, marami rin nagtatanong sa amin tungkol sa ISM. Sa now, yung mga third telco plays. So yan, we feel like it's, about to reverse, at least for the next few years. No, I think it's time for ISM to prove itself, whether it can be a profitable third telco play. So as you know, late last year, Ms. Latel, or now known as Dito Telecommunity, won the third telco license, and that was responsible for pushing up the share price. And it's not going up anymore. It's moving sideways. Of course, medyo nagkaroon ng rally when the license was awarded. But then again, I mean, think about it. This company will still have to spend around 200 billion the next 4 or 5 years. Mahirap kumita, no? Pagka, what kind of returns do you have to generate on 200 billion for it to be justified and also to justify the share price? So I feel like ISM will have to go through a correction phase muna until it will be able to become profitable. And that would take time for somebody in the telco business because of the huge investments required and the need to convince you and me to actually subscribe to their telco service. So that remains to be unknown at this point. Okay, another stock that people are asking questions about right now is Phinma Energy. We feel like it's also in a similar phase as ISM. Okay, the share price of Phinma went up because AC Energy announced that it was buying Phinma Energy. And of course, in June of this year, AC Energy completed the acquisition on Phinma Energy. Okay, so finally, analysts like me now have details of what's going on. Okay, so one of the things that we found out about Phinma is, Ayala AC Energy will actually be injecting some assets into Phinma. The problem is we don't know how much those assets will be injected at. Yun yung first issue. So our analyst George Ching said he feels like the fair value of those assets that Ayala will inject should be around 17 billion pesos. But there's a chance that they will inject it at an even higher price. So kawawa yung mga investors ng Phinma if that's the case. That's the first uncertainty that we have. And remember, they will have a rights issue, but Ayala already said that they will not be exercising those rights. So again, you're a little bit concerned. Why aren't you exercising the rights? But of course, they're saying, kasi we want to make sure the liquidity is high. We give our minority shareholders the opportunity to buy shares at a cheaper price, etc., etc. Pero of course, it's medyo may uncertainty dahil dyan. And then finally, there's this exciting story about renewable energy assets that AC Energy wants to venture into or Phinma Energy wants to venture into. Our concern about that expansion is the fact that the government does not award feed-in tariffs anymore. Okay? Ubus na. Wala nang feed-in tariffs available. So if a company wants to enter into a renewable energy project, they will have to fend for themselves and accept whatever the market rate is for energy. And we know how expensive it is to operate a renewable energy plant is. No? So baka hindi maganda yung maging returns. So it might take a while for Phinma Energy actually to justify a higher share price. So that's our take on the company. So maybe medyo iwas-iwas muna tayo rito. Okay, so in summary, fundamental analysis can help investors generate higher returns by identifying themes early, differentiating between value plays and value traps, and reducing the risk when buying high-flying stocks or trading high-flying stocks. I know I've said a lot, but the thing is, when it comes to fundamental analysis, my realization is everything is very dynamic. Changes happen very quickly. So to help you guys, please read our research website. We try to do our best to stay updated, and I know sometimes we're delayed, but we do our best to be to come out with good reports that are well thought of, that would help you guys stay ahead. So with that, thank you very much.